Hi everyone, my name is Anne. Welcome back to Art on the Creek. We're in my home studio in Parker, Colorado, and today we're going to do some watercolor with colored pencil, a little bit of mixed media. And the products that we're going to use today were sent to me by SUPERVISION for the watercolor portion. This is the set of 48 watercolors. There's going to be an excellent coupon down in the description. It's good through the end of the month. So if you want to do some shopping this weekend, that'd be a great discount for you. It's a 40% discount. So they also have a set of 24 if 48 is a little bit bigger than you want. But I think that you'll find that this little set here, this little set of 8 milliliter tubes, which look like this, are really, really nice to use. They are a student grade paint, but I have found them to act and perform as well as my professional paints. Haven't done any light fastness tests on them, but predominantly what I'm going to use them for is work that I just keep in a sketchbook. So let's have some fun today with SUPERVISION watercolors, and I will show you what we're going to end up with. This is what we're going to paint. It's a couple little pig snouts looking through a fence. I took this photo in 1996 and I have held onto it for 29 years. Oh my gosh, because I wanted to paint it someday. And I thought, what better than these SUPERVISION watercolors to go ahead and take a crack at this. So if you're ready, let's get started and see how we get from blank paper to piggy noses. Here we go. We're really hitting the ground midway through and running fast right here because I thought maybe you guys would be interested in seeing this little conventional swatching that I'm going to put inside the palette that I have here. I purchased the palette separately. The tubes look like the three that you're seeing there on my table. And the brush that I'm using is from Jackson's. It's their Studio line watercolor brush. I've really grown to love this brush. I wanted you to see though in sped up time, because that way you can kind of catch the flow a little bit better, how these really flow and perform nicely. Now this Payne's Gray, by the way, the paper I'm using here to swatch this is 100% cotton. The Payne's Gray, to me, this particular day looked a little bit green in my eyes, but I don't know if I would hesitate to use it as a Payne's Gray. It's fine. It would make a great shadow color, which is typically what I use Payne's Gray for. And of course, as a mixer, it would work just fine. But I think that second to the last one on the right, especially when I hold it up here, you can kind of see it's leaning a little toward the teal. But all the pigment information is on the back of the tubes, and I will have it down in the description below. And don't forget, there's that 40% coupon. If you're interested in trying this set, the 40% coupon is an affiliate link, and it will also be valid for that set of 24, if that's what you prefer. Here's the photo. I will put a link to this reference photo in my Dropbox. You guys can use it at your will. It's a totally free reference. I'm sharing this with you. This is a photo that I took in 1996, like I said in the intro. We were at a kind of a working 1800s farm. It was called the Clossing Barn, and that was in Madison, Wisconsin. And we had gone back there for a family reunion, because those types of round barns, it's a round barn, were built by my mother's ancestors. She is a descendant of the Clossing family that came over from Germany, and we went over there to kind of see what the barns were all about. The one that her immediate ancestors built, I think, was torn down, but this one has become kind of a wedding venue and living farm. And don't trust me on any of this because my memory is 29 years old, but I do know that these pigs were taken at some sort of 1800s living, working farm. They may have separated the farm from the wedding venue kind of situation, but in my memory, that's where these pigs live. And it was so cute because my husband reminded me when he saw the photo and the painting that the caretaker inside the pig pen had to keep moving, and she was kind of doing a foxtrot. She was kind of doing a dance step in a square with her feet. And we asked her why, and she says because if she stands still, the pigs will nibble at her, and it hurts. So she keeps moving, and the pigs leave her alone. Of course, they were very curious about us and wanted to know if we had any food for them, and we did not. To sketch out these pigs, I'm using a Derwent watercolor pencil. It's just the part of the ones I have on my desk. The two that I've used and like are by Faber-Castell and Derwent. I'm sure if you have any watercolor pencil for this instance, it would work just fine. I want to just set the paints up here. Now, these aren't the colors that I'm using. These are just some example colors, so you can see the size of the tube kind of in comparison, because most of us, I think when we buy a watercolor tube, we're expecting that 15 milliliter tube. Well, these are only 8. They're smaller, but in a way, I really kind of like that because a half pan, if I remember correctly, holds 5 milliliters of paint. So just a tad bit more than half. You can kind of see how when you put them in the pan, which is what I did, they will shrink up a little bit, sometimes crack. That's normal, but I would say with this particular set, there were a few of the colors that cracked a little bit more than I expected them to. But then again, I have an exceptionally dry climate here in Colorado, and we are at altitude. We're over 6,000 feet where I live, so the air is very dry, very thin. That may have contributed to the way that these set up in the pan. And I did go filled them first on the first day, let them cure, and then came back about a week later and kind of topped them off and let them cure for a little while longer. And the little section that you see there on the left-hand side of your screen, that's how they set up. Some of them went in very smoothly and some of them didn't, but it's never going to impede my painting, so I'm really happy to have them in a palette. And I'll put a link to this palette that I purchased too. It's just an empty palette. It's metal, it's nice, it's just your classic tin palette. What I'm trying to do as I'm drawing these pigs is I'm just really trying to include the information that will remind me where I want to paint what. So I'm just kind of changing the angle of his little side there because this is kind of tricky when you really get to looking at a photo. So like this one, the first thing you see is the pig snouts, but then I realized the left pig, you can see the leg, and it just looks kind of strange. And I realized as I was painting later, the reason it looks strange is because I didn't quite put it in the right place, but I will move that as we go on. And you'll find that happens a lot when you're drawing from a reference and trying to paint, that maybe you might get something in the wrong spot and you have to move it. Of course, there are a lot of tips and tricks to avoid that, but I'm one to just dive right in and just draw what I see. So this time I saw it in the wrong place. So we'll move his leg over. That it just looks kind of funny to me now. And of course, it's really standing out because this is after the fact and I know that I have moved it. What I want to do is to start with a number 12 round. This brush that I'm going to be using is by Princeton. It's their Aqua Elite brush. I love these. It's an imitation Kolinsky sable, excuse me. And I'm going to go in and just get this wet. Now I will speed this video up because it is not intended to be a tutorial. If you are one of my channel members, however, you will have access to this video in real time. I am going to convert this to a tutorial for channel members. If you're interested in becoming a member and having that access to full-length tutorials, an extensive library that you can pull up and use anytime, there's a link in the description that will tell you all about membership with Art on the Creek. One of the most fun things that I do for my channel members is to send out Happy Mail every single month. And in that happy mailing, which happens about the middle of the month, you'll get some kind of fun present from me. It might be a sticker of some artwork that I've made, or it might be some paint samples, it might be a postcard print, or paper samples. It can really just be anything. Anything that I can mail to you, you can receive as a channel member, and it will always be a surprise. And hopefully I've still got a lot of good tricks up my sleeve. I hope that the channel members are really enjoying all of those happy mail moments, and I really think you are because you always tell me that you like them. So thank you very much. The channel member benefits will all be outlined in that link below, so you can decide which tier you would like to come in at. There is one for every budget. I tried to make it as budget friendly as possible. If you come in at the Pikes Peak tier, which is the highest tier, then you will have access to the e-newsletter, which I send out every single month. And what I include in that is just really what's going on behind the studio, some really thought-provoking statements and prompts about art in general, or things to think a little bit deeper about yourself as an artist. And also I include daily painting prompts. So if you're ever at a loss for what to paint, the prompts are always optional. They're always included just to give you a little bit of a springboard. Maybe my prompt will give you an idea to paint something else, because there's nothing worse than staring at a blank page and not being able to figure out what to put on it. So we're going to try and alleviate that through my e-newsletter. So there you go, guys. That is my invitation to check out becoming a channel member with Art on the Creek. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to speed this up and go a little bit faster so that you can really see how these paints interact. And I will put in the description, I will let you know which paints I used in this. I only used 2, 4, 6, 7 paints for this entire piece, and I was very pleased with how it turned out. So with your set of 48 here, if you do decide to go this route, you will find that they have great mixing potential. And I'll put a link up here in the corner on the top right where you can see the entire playlist of these SUPERVISION paints. There are 4 videos in all, and you can really see how they swatch out, how they mix, and all kinds of other fun things about them. So without further ado, I'm going to convert this over to some really lovely music, and hopefully you guys will get in a nice relaxed mood and we can watch these pigs come to life with watercolor by SUPERVISION and a mix of professional colored pencils. Okay guys, I'll catch up with you in just a moment. we are at the end of our painting. Once that tape comes off, you know it's time to celebrate. And you may have noticed I used a heat tool to help loosen that tape. Even though it's washi tape, I really like to do that just to ensure that it's not going to lift any watercolor paper up. Sometimes your tape gets a little old and you get some unfortunate surprises like that. But here we are, the final picture with the colored pencil on this wonderfully textured watercolor paper. This is cold pressed 100% cotton watercolor paper by Meeden. Comes in a block. This is the 7" by 10" size, and I will have a link to that as well in the description. But if you're interested in these paints, this SUPERVISION coupon that I have linked below, which is 40% off, that is good through the end of May 2025. I hope you guys really enjoyed this and are all set to have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend, if that is what's happening where you live. No matter what your plans are this weekend, I hope you really enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for giving it a like, maybe subscribing to the channel, and for checking out these SUPERVISION watercolors. Okay guys, we'll see you next time. Have a very creative week. Bye now.